it. Well, guess what? It's back. So no, I think we're doing fine. So.
Awesome. And Charlie, you're just east of Namesh, correct? Northeast?
Southeast, probably. Yeah, and we cover though. We go on the north side of Houston and all the way down here to the Texas-Louisiana border, which I am today. And yeah, there's 1,300 people that move to Texas every day. And so when you hear about the Gulf Coast, where we largely reside, we provide all 25% of the jet fuel to the company. A lot of it is petrochemical related. We refine a lot of things down here. There's a lot of working people that are down here. And then north of Houston is where a lot of the corporations that they work for are located. So it's really a diverse area that we work, but it's a constant inflow of people.
Yeah, I like to say that we're somewhat insulated from the large bubbles that you see. The Californias, the Las Vegas, when that happened, we saw it all happen in 2008, 2009. We never experienced that in Dayton, Ohio, or Cincinnati, Ohio, because we didn't have the 50% appreciation in the course of 6 months or a year. We have a lot. Ours is a lot based on Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, so we've got a very solid core there that doesn't allow for a lot of fluctuation. But it is interesting to me, and Kent can speak to it for a second too. It is interesting to see the dynamics of each market because we're in Dayton, Cincinnati, and Northern Kentucky. It's interesting to see kind of the flip-flop of how the markets go by month. And it's, again, it's not a huge change, but it does certainly affect what we see in the market.
Yeah, I agree.
Ours isn't much different. We're, of course, as Tyler said, we're Midwest basically. We're part of the greater Cincinnati metro area, and we have a few Fortune 500 companies here, P&G, Kroger, to name a couple. But there's not the influx of people coming and going that we've had in previous markets with transfers. It seems like everybody's kind of locked in, and with everybody working from home, I don't think they're transferring like they once did. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. But we're kind of a stable market. That said one time, if the world ends, he wants to be in Cincinnati because we'll be the last ones to know it. So he'll live longer.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. We might be right in front of you or behind you there, Kent. But so I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm Northeast Indiana, and I would say I'm a lot like Tyler and Kent. I mean, we're fairly insulated here in the Midwest. We've had strong markets for a long time, but we don't see these fluctuations that I think a lot of people do on the coast of the country. So, we track our markets. We're in about 11 counties, but the 4 counties that we have offices in, those counties are all up 12 to 15%. We have one down about 16 and one's down 2. But regionally, we're up 4.5% this year. So, very modest, stable market. The greater Fort Wayne area, which is our largest market that we're in, has had actually tremendous growth the last several years. And I think has been named one of the most economical, best places to live in the country, believe it or not. In the last, I think, 2 or 3 years, they've been in the top 5 just because of economic growth and a lot of the development and redevelopment they've had. So it's been good. I just think in times like this, the uncertainty, the change is hard, right? Whether it's at work or at home in your life. And I just think that all the change and the deceleration of the market, I think it causes people to panic. And, panic sells headlines. Good information, solid plans, a positive attitude does not sell in the media. And so we got to be really careful about what we're taking in. And you need to make sure you're just paying attention to what the market's really like, because our markets are really pretty strong. We saw some inventory issues, which has created new challenges. But I would say this too: anytime that there's a challenge or a shift or a change in the market, it's a huge opportunity to take market share and get ahead of your competition if you'll lean into it and not let fear and overwhelm paralyze you from doing the things you need to be doing. So I'm excited about where we're headed, actually. And I think, and we talked about this yesterday, guys, in our prep call, but I think 25 and 26 are going to be really good real estate markets. And right now is the time to get yourself in place to take advantage of that as well. And thanks for having me, Tyler. This is great.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think, you nailed it with there's plenty of opportunity. I think that's the thing that when you have fear and uncertainty, it's easy to say, I'm not sure what's going to happen and I'm terrified. But I think for those that are prepared, we talked about this, like you said yesterday, for those that are prepared, it's easy to say, I'm going to take this head on. And we talked about, an email from Nick McLean that said, well, everybody's focused on buyer agreements. I'm focused on taking listings.
Yeah.
And, Kent and I talked for the last year and a half before any of this was even on the radar about getting back to basics. And so what are you guys telling your agents other than just like back to basics? Give me some real world practice of what your advice is for agents that are maybe not struggling, but aren't sure what's going to happen next.
I just walked out of a team meeting in there talking to a lot of really great agents down here in Orange, Texas. And, we talked a little bit about Franzia wine, the box wine. That is the average. And what we're trying to create is a bit of a vintage here on top. We don't want to be average. And some of it is like to what Todd said, is just deciding to get up and go to work. And we went through a whole checklist of like a pilot. If you're going to fly across the United States, you're going to sit with your co-pilot and you're going to go through a checklist. Reality is that jet, it can taxi itself, it can take off by itself, it can land by itself. But going through that checklist gets you into the mindset to where you're going to work and you are performing tasks within your job that is being a realtor. And it resonates because, as we discussed yesterday, your mindset going into each day, back to I reap what I sow, if you are just going straight to whatever the clickbait is for the day, how does that help your attitude going into the day? And I would say it doesn't. But what you can do is go through your own checklist of what you need to do to get the day going, to get yourself in that work attitude, because it is uncertain. And a lot of us are scared just to take the first step.
Yeah. To kind of piggyback off of that a little bit, Charlie, I just, something by Tony Robbins, change is inevitable, but progress is optional. Right. And so, when you really kind of just look at or listen to that line, it's optional for you to get up and wanting to do something. Right. And the biggest thing, Tyler, you're asking what I've told my agents right now is to actually have patience. It's not to bury your head in the sand and just see you when the storm passes, right? It's not that. It's having patience, right? But having patience just means that there's an actual, like you said, like Charlie said, there's a checklist to get to from point A to point B, to continue to do that checklist, but know that some of the results that you're going to see aren't going to come for another 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Prepare yourself. Now, if you're just looking at this as a job on a day-to-day check, paycheck to paycheck type of thing, this is probably not the profession for you, right? But if you're trying to build yourself a career and putting the building blocks in and having the foundation and all that, then you have your checklist. You have your going back to the basics. You have your daily staying in front of people and doing. And there's so many different things that people can do. But if you're not doing that with the patience, knowing that you are looking at the long-term effect of it, then that's where you're going to run into some problems.
No, I love that. And I think patience is key. When I look back at, this is my 20th year in real estate. So I was just a young pup and actually had hair back then. But I lived with my brother at that time. And when I first started in real estate, he asked me the question. He said, what are you doing every morning when you wake up to ask yourself what you're going to do to make money today? Because I'd come from car sales where the customers come to you.
Right.
And it was a completely different shift in mindset of how am I going to go find and make conversations with people that are going to develop into relationships that will be closings in 6 to 9 months. And I think that's a big shift for a lot of agents over the last 5 years, even especially those that do online leads. The online lead incubation has increased exponentially. When you talk about how many leads when Zillow first came out that they were passing out, as opposed to how many there are now, we had just over 4 million homes sold last year, but there were 120 million real estate leads.
Yeah.
Every consumer is on 8 different websites and putting their information in because it's click done.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily have the intent. So I think patience is key, and just getting back to what Kent and I talked about, getting back to basics, following up. You need to be there and be the expert when they're ready.
Yeah, but
and that was
even
one
that part right there, Tyler, right? Sorry to jump in, but even that part right there, Tyler, some people think that it's so easy to just jump in and buy some leads or do the online leads, and they're expecting that person to buy or sell right then and there, and they don't. And then they move on to the next lead and the next lead and the next lead, and eventually they're gonna run into a lead that's gonna happen. But the point is that incubation period is not there with that patience to say that, hey, you just wasted your time and your money that you spent on these leads, because that lead that if you put it into that incubation period, it could be 3 months, 6 months down the road, and that's where the patience part comes in too.
Hey,
Absolutely.
I'd like to cut in here. Your story about being patient and this mindset with agents, we've come out of this hot market where everybody got reactional and transactional, right? They just got to react. It reminds me of this old story. When I started in the business, I had a flip phone. And my dad used to tell me back when I started, he's like, when you wake up every day, what are you going to do? What are you going to make happen today? Because nothing is going to happen for you. Nothing. So like you have to come to work every day with this proactive mindset. Like if I don't make shit happen, nothing's going to happen in my business. And we just came out of a market where that probably wasn't true for a while, right? So when I flipped my flip phone up every day, it said, make it happen today, make it happen. So
Nice.
I think that is a huge shift in where agents have been for about 4 or 5 years, how they need to walk in the door every day, is that they need to be proactive in their business. We hire new agents a lot, and I see them. One of the things that drives me nuts is they get a client or a listing, and then they're in the office all the time. And then when they're slow, they're just gone. And it's like getting a client is on the service side of the business. The work that needs to be done every day consistently is the proactive lead generation, business development side of the business. Every day you have a reason to go to work, and it's on that stuff. Servicing your clients is far more reactive than actually going out and finding new business. And I just think it's a huge shift in mindset, and getting back to that. Those are the agents that are going to win. The formula for success is not complicated, but the agents who will throw themselves into that. And when I say that as well, I want to throw in the mix today. We have new buyer agreements that need to be signed. There's 100 to 150 million leads for 4.5 or 5 million deals. It's all doubling, tripling. I read somewhere the other day they think maybe there were 200 million online leads. What makes it easier to get a listing? What makes it easier to get a buyer agent agreement signed? What makes it easier to come in and pour into your database every day? It's great relationships and relational selling. And as much as people don't like to hear it, it's not the shiny new object. And you can leverage tech to build these relationships. But if you want to have a better success rate tackling this new awkward buyer agency agreement, or that some people are struggling with, if you're pouring into people and your relationships are different, it changes the game to get that stuff signed. Go list a home with someone that you poured into for 2 or 3 years or you've worked with before. It's a different ball game than when they're having 2 or 3 or 4 people out and interviewing them and they found you on the internet. You want to do that, but it's a different game, and it cuts through. It lowers the friction of all this competitiveness in the market. And the formula to get there it's very simple. It's just not easy to do because it takes a lot of hard work.
Well, Todd, you walked us right into the fire. You brought up buyer agreements, which I know is the hot topic of the moment, right? And I think it goes along with the clickbait headlines. And our consumers, our clients, our agents' clients, they only know what they've read, right? They probably didn't read the full article, because I've had more people in the last 2 to 3 months ask me or tell me that, oh, I heard everything's changing in July or changing in August. And it's like, well, that's not really the case. You didn't read the whole thing. But I think it is our goal and it is our job to combat those headlines, those clickbait headlines, by becoming our own headlines. And I think getting in front of it and being proactive and becoming the go-to trusted source for that information is imperative. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to build those relationships, but consumers work with those that they know, like, and trust, right? And the only way that you can do that at scale, utilizing technology, certainly you can have those personal one-on-one relationships, and I recommend that. But the only way you can do it at scale is by doing video. And so we've talked about that ad nauseum to get in front of it and become the trusted source. So my recommendation to agents all over the country is to get in front of the camera and talk about what it really means for the consumer. What does it mean for sellers? What does it mean for buyers?
I agree with you on that, Tyler, because it's all about transparency anyway, right? Where, some of these industry changes and all that, it's been about transparency, but most of the good agents or most of us out there, we've always been transparent. Well, why not get that out there a little bit more? Show the professionalism, show the knowledge in our community. And like you said, scalability wise, the only way to do that is to be on video and to get it out there, whether it's social media or anything else out there,
No, you're absolutely right.
I think the message there really is that we're reacting too much. The industry is reacting too much. The public is reacting too much. If you're a good boxer, you really want to be on the offense, not the defense. If you're reacting constantly to something else, then you're not in charge. And your point is well taken there, Tyler, is we've got to be in charge. We've got to we got to go on the offense. We got to get the messages out, and it's up to us as an industry to educate the public what's going on out there. Basically, nothing's really changed. We're in a service industry, and we're here to service you. And how we do that's changed just a little bit, but the message has to be the same. We got so many people that have an opportunity to buy a house, but now they're scared, they're afraid that rates or this or that. But obviously, you can see from my face, I've been around a while. Done this my whole adult life. I bought a house at 13 and a quarter fixed rate at one time. But what happened then was we accepted less of a house than we would have accepted if we could have borrowed money at 7%. When I started, rates were at 8 3/4. So they've actually gone down over the last 40 years, and not up. So we got a little spoiled for a while. And the message we've got to get out is that was artificial money. There was a mortgage sale that happened. The government forced down the money market. It was a sale and you missed it. If Kohl's had a sale on jeans last week and you didn't buy them, sorry, you missed the sale. So people missed the sale. We've got to quit thinking that 2 and 3 and 4% is a norm that we're going to return to. We are not. 6 and 7% money, maybe 5s, but that's all it's going to be. So we really need to get the message out in a positive way. Let everybody know that we're there to service them. We're there to help them, and we've got to educate them. Well, if we're in a reactionary mode, we're not going to win. We've got to be in the positive mode. We've got to set the tone, set the conversation. Your social media is just unbelievable source for you. Todd just said, staying in touch with all the people in your network. Make sure that they know what's going on a regular basis. So when they're ready to use you, I'll give you a good example. A friend of mine is a really good, successful commercial agent over in Cincinnati. And he started as a brand new agent with, I don't know, Colliers or whatever. And they said, what do you do? How do I get started? They said, make some phone calls. He goes, who? He goes, just make phone calls. And he sat down and he called everybody he could call on a regular basis. And he would just make all these phone calls day in, day out, day out. Well, there's one large local business guy here who runs hundreds of hotels and things around the world. He kept calling on this guy. And he called him over 100 times and never got past the admin person. Never got past the admin. Well, this guy decided that he wanted to sell his building that he was in, which was about a $3.5 million office building. He built a brand new building, which was 50,000 square feet, and he needed to lease it. And he told his admin, he says, call this guy that's been calling me all this time. I want you to list this building with him. So he had a $3.5 million sale. And he says, and give him the leasing contract on our new 50,000 square foot building. Because anybody that would call for 100 times and not reach me is the kind of guy I want working for me. But the rest of the message was he didn't call everybody and say, you want to sell right now? Okay, thanks, hang up. He said, hey, I'm just checking in with you. Is there anything going on in the real estate world? Do you see yourself making any changes in the next 3 to 5 years? You need more space, less space? And those could be the same conversations we can have on the residential side. You're not going to pick up the phone, call somebody, and they're going to be ready to buy a house today, unless that's a total accident. So nurturing those things, as Todd said, and put them into your systems and making them work is part of that. But we did this little thing that he's put up on the screen there for you now. And it was, if you want to wait 3 years and wait for rates to come down to 6%, what would happen? So we just took our little local market. The other day was 280 was the average sale price, and said, well, what if I wait 3 years for rates to come down to 6%? We'll make this available to you. But so if you look at that quickly, I put 10% down and I financed $252,000 and my payment's $1,676. I could wait 3 years and now I have to put $30,000 down because there's a 3% appreciation. The mesh tells me I'm being super conservative there, but so then I have to finance more. My payment is virtually the same. The guy on the left has $23,000 more equity, and he's got to live in that home for the last 3 years. The other side has 36 rent receipts and now has the same payment. So these are the kind of messages on the financing, getting it out, let people know, buy down interest rates. Sellers now are a little bit more willing to help you do some things. Maybe you can get 3 points from the seller and buy down an interest rate. What does that mean? We haven't done that in years, but what does that mean? It would mean with 3 points, you can do several things. You could buy down an interest rate 5% on a 30-year fixed. So that's 7% that's scaring them. Maybe they could get a 6.5. You could do a 2-1 buy down where they could get 5% the first year, 6% the second, 7% the third. So get creative, sit with your lender, talk about some of these things, and sit with your sellers and say, let's build in some things to make our house more attractive. Let's help these buyers. The other piece of this we've been talking about a lot is some of the sellers, some of the agents are coming and going, I don't know if I can get this seller to pay these commissions. They don't want to offer compensation for this co-op buyer. And we quickly looked at our numbers and said 30% of our sales were cash sales last year. 30%. That's a high number historically, but that's what it was. Out of the 70% that financed, 90% of them had 10% or less down payment. So if I look at that, 90%, that's 63%, 90% of 70. So that's 63% of the people only had 10% to put into a house. They don't have the money to buy a commission or to pay a commission. So our conversation with the seller needs to be, do you want to eliminate 63% of your potential buyers who can't afford to pay a commission? Or let's get smart and let's make your house attractive. Let's build some financing into it. Let's build some co-op commission into this thing, or whatever you want to call it. So we need to be, I guess what I'm really saying is we need to take control of the conversation. We're letting too much of it come at us. We need to be putting it out to them. And I just rambled too long, but I'll stop.
Kent, what I want to say to that is, it's a good segue into what Todd's been saying for the past year, which is that go on the offense, and I'll let Todd take it over from there. But the other thing I'm going to say here is but that's the key, right? You have to have knowledge. You have to be really well versed in the lending, the insurance, the title, every part of it, right? Every part of the real estate transaction. That's why you're the professional. That's why you're the best. That's why you're good at what you can do. That's why you're going to make it, right? And so then you have to get creative. Then you have to be able to put that knowledge out there and tell the consumer, educate the consumer, right? But anyway, I thought that was a great point. That's how you're going to make it in this industry. Just be blunt. You're not going to make it just sitting back and just like, oh, okay, well, I'll do my part and the lender will do their part. You're not going to make it, right? You have to know every aspect of it. That's my 2 cents on being blunt about. And so many people are not going to. But as far as what Todd's been saying for the past year to all of us, nonstop, offense. So Todd, take it away.
Yeah, thanks. Ben, first, that piece that you just showed, we need to get that to everybody. It's a great tool. I mean, you talk about having a buyer consultation meeting right now. That's powerful. You guys getting any feedback?
That was Nimesh's dogs.
Okay. Anyway, what a great tool to use in a listing presentation, but a buyer presentation to get the buyer agreement signed. So that's the kind of thing that we need to be doing to articulate our value. As far as buyers getting in this market, these rates, if you can demonstrate what Kent just showed us, they got to jump in. The quicker they get in the game, the better, the more they're going to win. And if they wait, they're going to lose, regardless of rates, regardless of prices. The real estate game is a long-term play, and that's what you got to do. And so I think it encourages buyers. You get buyers that get in bidding wars. They've been more aggressive, but right now, as the market's softened up a little bit, I'm seeing buyers start to pull back and try to beat up a seller a little bit more. And the truth is, even though the market's slowed, prices are not going down and they're not going backwards. And these buyers got to jump in and make it happen. So I think that's a great thing to do. And in terms of the softball that Nimesh just tossed up to me about the market, I would just say this. I've been telling all my broker friends this for a long time, but the same is true for the agents. You need to be louder in your market. You need to be consistent with your messaging. Tyler nailed it with video. I know everybody, most don't want to do video. They're uncomfortable with video. It's amazing how simple it is. I tell everybody, I hate to tell you this, but you look and sound like that all the time to all of us. You just don't have to see and listen to yourself, but that's the truth. And so you got to get over it. You got to get over yourself, and you got to be willing to put yourself out there. But if you're consistently getting in front of your database, with video, which is powerful on many levels. Psychologically, it's more powerful than anything else. It's amazing the kind of top of mind awareness that you're going to get with your database, and you become the resource, the trusted advisor. So again, the formula is simple. It's just not easy to do because you got to show up every day. Like you guys said, have your checklist of things you need to do. Have your non-negotiables. If you want to win, have a list of non-negotiable things that you have to be held accountable to every single day. And they can be simple and the list can be short, but you need to have non-negotiables in your life every day, and you need to get some accountability built in your life. I want to throw one more thing out here. We talked about this yesterday. We were kidding. All of our agents tend to be working with different coaches and services all over the place. I'm telling you right now, your brokers, wherever you are, whether you're with one of our companies or somewhere else, most of the information that they already have is there. You don't need to go outsource it to get it. Lean on your broker for training and coaching. They can provide you with the activities and the non-negotiables that you need. They can also provide you with the accountability that you probably need. And everybody always says, what's the old saying? Everybody says they want some accountability until they get some, and then they don't want accountability anymore. But lean into the people around you. Everything that you need to be successful is in your own brokerage, around the leadership there. Who you're around matters a ton. The influence of the people in your life daily has probably a bigger impact on what you're doing in your business than anything else. So make sure you're getting around the right people and getting away from the wrong people. So there, I'm done preaching about all that. But thanks, Nimesh, for
that's perfect. And Tyler, back to you. You know, if those of you out there haven't subscribed to Tech with Ty every week, he communicates. He lets you get to know him. He lowers the bar there to show you what works, what doesn't work, how everything's moving forward. It's a great tool that, I don't know, how many hours does it take you to put that together, Ty? It
used to take me a while, but now I've got it down to probably 30, 35 minutes a week.
Because you're committed to constantly improving. And it's absolutely that mindset that makes a difference and makes this one task, whether it's video, you're scared of video, you want to not do video at all, start with a newsletter that provides valuable information that people can use. And Tyler's literally explaining in there what he's using, what's helped him and what doesn't. And it's telling those kind of stories to your people that makes all the difference. They just want to hear from you regularly, even if you screw up. They want to know that you're out there and that you're engaged and you know what you're talking about. Because we went from a market where it was just a random touch. Hey, I'm Charlie. I'm a realtor. Give me a call if you ever need to do anything. Now they want you, the expert that knows your marketplace, that knows your neighborhood, who after they find all the houses that they want, that they can call you and you can tell them specifically something about all of those areas. And so it just means starting, right? I mean, with the commitment to approve. But we have a saying that says it is unacceptable for my business to earn zero. And if you have that vision in your mind and the commitment to have the discipline to go do something, then you can do this. You can do this.
Yeah, I think I can speak for all of us where we're all open books. We've all been doing this for a long time. There's no secrets to success in the real estate industry. It truly is, practice what you preach and be consistent. And so when I started Tech with Ty, which it wasn't my idea. I think all ideas are good ideas until they're not. But I took it from another real estate coach that started doing it. I was like, hey, I find myself stumbling upon technology or cool things that I think are cool all of the time, but I don't have anyone to share them with, or things that I take for granted as a techie or a nerd. I don't think to share them. And so I was like, hey, why don't I stop keeping this information to myself? And I think that's where realtors make a mistake is they learn something in a class or from their broker or whatever it is, or there's a legislation change or an NAR lawsuit or whatever it might be, and they keep it to themselves, as opposed to getting out there and getting ahead of it and being proactive. And so we started Tech with Ty, and it was technology education, coaching, and how to. And I'm not going to lie, it was really tough to write that the first like 10 times because I was like, oh, what do I need to put in the technology section? What do I need to put in coaching and how to, et cetera? So when I started doing it, it was tough. But once you get into the habit and the routine, it becomes very easy and it becomes second nature. And so we've been sending that out now. Abby, what are we on? 76, 77?
Shout out to Abby.
Yeah, Abby's over here. She's monitoring the chat for us.
Hello.
Hey,
Tyler, it's like anything, right? It's a new skill. Like if you want to incorporate some things in your business and life that are going to have impact, you got to be willing to be uncomfortable and do it poorly for a while or struggle. The struggle is where you get refined and your skill sets get better. That is a simple process that people avoid, right? But I say that now about the videos that we put out every week. Our ability to create video and our angles, sound, concepts, editing, all the great stuff Jacqueline does for us. We weren't there when we started. You just have to commit to the process. And the same is true for all the agents. Commit to the process of whatever your non-negotiables are, new skill sets, newsletter, video. If you just commit, you're going to be amazed where you're going to be in a short period of time.
Yeah, so we're on episode. It's not a webinar. We are on issue or email number 77 with Tech with Ty, and we've had over a 70% open rate over the course of that entire email span. So you guys can sign up. I just dropped Abby dropped the link, asianafterhours.com/beehive or /blog, either one. But yeah, we try to give informative emails every week on those different topics.
But hey, Tyler, so what I was going to ask
FYI, I mean,
some of that is that
I was just going to say, you can speak to the viability of email.
Yeah. No, what I was going to say is that, like what Todd said is you get better as you do, right? You have to trust the process. But ultimately, the other thing is, what we all have a hard time doing as real estate agents, as brokers, whatever it is, doing anything, you feel like you have to do something so profound that it makes a big difference on that one moment. That's not the case, right? It's the daily, it's the simple things that we might think it's simple, but the average consumer or the actual regular consumer doesn't understand that. Right now, I read Tech with Ty. Ty probably looks at that stuff and is like, wow, that's so basic. I read it, I'm like, it's over my head, right? I'm like, holy cow, right? So I learned things from that. But it's the same thing with us as real estate agents. You feel like, oh, you don't want to talk about an option fee or an earnest money or an interest rate. That's our daily job to do. That's what we do on a daily basis, and we're good at it. But the average consumer doesn't know all of that. So don't be afraid to try to make something so profound that you get stuck on that, right? Just go ahead and put things out there.
And the newsletter is fabulous. I just want to say for any of our folks that are watching, sign up for it. I get it every week. You're going to see some of our stuff. Sometimes some of the information we'll share. I'll send Tyler a message like, this is fabulous. I got to use it. And we all share anything, but sign up for it. It's awesome.
Yeah, agreed.
It has a lot of value in it every week.
And to Charlie's point, we talk about doing video all the time because I think it's an easy way to get in front of consumers or get in front of people at scale. So is email, and it's free and it's easy. And I think it's an untapped resource for a lot of agents. If you are providing value, it's easy to get in front of your entire sphere, your database on a regular basis. I think the big fear for agents is that you're not going to provide enough value. And Nimesh nailed it with, it's the little things. It is, hey, this is what this clause means in this contract. Talk about that. Become that expert and become that trusted advisor, but provide that value on a regular basis, and you will be the first call that they make. And don't just, we talk about recipe cards. That used to be the way that people sent out postcards and stuff, right? Because it was like, oh, well, now I can Google that in 2 seconds, but I can't Google, what does this clause in the contract mean for me as a new buyer? Or what does it mean when I need to bring earnest money or a down payment plus now possibly a buyer's agent commission? So talk about those things and be that trusted advisor. But email is an easy way to do that. And I highly recommend, don't take it for granted, getting out there in front of everybody.
Who's got all that noise going on back there?
Following up on that, Tyler, is that, we often said, we get this phrase, we've used our company here, Tyler, but, individually, there's a lot of smart people in our offices. Collectively, there's a genius. And I think sometimes we've unplugged from that a little bit.
Yes.
It's very easy now to run your whole business out of here. And, the days of everybody sitting in the office all the time and the synergy and energy sometimes is missing. But I have a nephew that worked for Apple out in San Francisco. Of course, everybody had to go home. And after a while, Apple said, you're all coming back. You've got to get back in the office. We've lost our creativity. We've lost our connectivity. So we used to sit in the conference room and Todd would come up with an idea and the mess, well, what if we did this? And Charlie would say, well, we did this over here. And by the time he got finished, they threw all these things against the wall and it stuck, and they had a whiteboard. They walked away with an idea and they took it off and ran with it. Everybody's working in a silo today, and it's very, very hard sometimes to have the synergy and energy. I can tell you as a broker, sometimes it's a little frustrating to walk down the hall and know you can shoot a shotgun and not hit anybody. I know everybody's out there working, everybody's doing a great job, but don't underestimate the social piece. And human beings are social beings, and staying at home in your home office all day long, sometimes you're going to lose some of that. And be careful that if the only input you're getting is from your own head, you're missing a whole bunch of very, very valuable stuff from your cohorts. And I love talking to guys like this on this session here today. None of us know it all, but it's unbelievable to be able to pick brains, from the other people. And just being in the office and you hear somebody that wrestling with this deal and you go, I had the same thing, but here's how I did it, or whatever. Just Tyler said, it'd be nice if everybody stopped in 2 or 3 times a week just to stop in, as part of your routine, stop by and see somebody. But also creating networks of brokers fellow agents and brokers, where you could have a mastermind. You just talk about things, check in once a week or once a month. Maybe off of this group here, if a bunch of you want to create a agent mastermind across the country, somebody could take the lead on that thing and do that as well. There are mastermind groups out there, but just keep that in mind. Sometimes it's hard to be there all by yourself at home, and you're buried in your own thinking. There's better ideas out there than mine, so I want to get out and find them.
Yeah. Hey, Tyler, Ken, I think it's a great point. I want to share this point. I brought this up yesterday. The outlier stories are not the norm. Okay. So it is really easy for realtors, brokers. We're in the hallway at the water cooler, getting a cup of coffee. We're in a meeting. Everybody wants to raise their hand and talk about the crazy story where the buyer wouldn't sign the buyer broker agreement, or the seller who didn't want to pay a full fee, or it broke down over this whole scenario right now. But the reality is the majority of the transactions are solid transactions, and you're all having wins all the time. And you need to condition yourself, and we as leaders need to encourage you to share the wins and share the success stories, because you can walk into a meeting for 1 hour with 30, 40, 50 people in the room, or 20 people. And guess what? The first story people generally, it's human nature, you want to share. It's like the newspapers. They want to share the outlier story that is not the norm. Yet we have people in the room that are having wins every day, handling objections, nailing a presentation, dealing with some things on a buyer broker presentation where they convert and they get the contract signed. That's the stuff we need to be sharing and pouring into, because you hear one terrible story and you walk out with not a great feeling, and that affects your business and how you operate that day. And the reality is we're winning all over the place, and you got these couple crazy stories. We need to reject paying a lot of attention to those, because if you are doing the right work on the business development side and you have enough quality leads in your life, you don't need to worry about that stuff. That's the answer. Don't go try to fix someone who's never going to want to work with you or see your value. You're wasting your time, and focus on the stuff that matters. That's how you win.
I think that's a great point, Todd. And I'm gonna throw a softball up to Charlie from that segue to, hey, Charlie, don't we live a life of abundance?
That's right.
I had to mute because my hallway is really loud right behind me. So, but yes, you're speaking my language, baby.
Well, I thought he was gonna
Abundance, time and money, and abundance, my cup runneth over. So you've designed enough systems and processes. You have the vision of where you want to go to where there's more than enough of both.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got, I do want to open it up for Q&A. You guys have posted a lot of great comments on YouTube and Facebook. So thank you for those. But if you guys have questions, we've got, I don't know, a combined 100 years of experience here as real estate brokers, probably a lot more than that. But
are you talking about Ken or are you talking about all of us?
But yeah, so if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. And I think we're going to try to do this regularly with rotating brokers throughout the country. But somebody mentioned it. I do recommend get your own mastermind group together with people with like minds, because this group that we have here, and there's more of us, but that group is, I think, what makes us who we are. When they say you're the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with, it does make a difference. And getting into the office is important so that you can collaborate, you can brainstorm, you can mastermind. And I think it makes a huge difference, and it will make a difference in your business because, like they said, an idea that you might not have thought of is like, oh, or hey, I might tweak. What do you think of this ad? What do you think of this postcard? What do you think of this Facebook post? What do you think of this video? Whatever it is, run it by them and get their input. Hey, I might tweak this, or run it by us. We're happy to go over that kind of stuff with you.
Or, hey, get together and copy each other, right? From different parts of the country, whatever. We've done that. Todd, Tyler, Charlie, we've done that all over the place. Hey, what are you doing over there? What are you using for your agents? What are you doing for marketing? What are you doing for social media? Oh, you know what? I'm going to do that over here, right? There's nothing wrong with it because you have a good respect back and forth. I mean, heck, Tyler, you and I, we talked about highlighting the agents, right? And that's simple, just highlighting the agents and a couple of things about them. And I see your posts every week now doing that, and I'm doing the same thing, right? So you're not bothered by me. I'm not bothered by you. It's just we brainstormed, and then you kind of got me to make mine a little bit better, So, talk to people from all around the country because our profession is our profession, but it's different where you are. It's so localized. I think when Todd started talking about at the very beginning of this call, he started talking about what's going on in Indiana and all that. You always have to remember that all the national lines or all the national news, Inman, whatever you want to call it, it's all from a national level. Real estate agents are that local. They are very local to their market. So when you're masterminding with other people around and you're sharing with things, you can copy things and bring it back to your own local market that doesn't affect anyone else around the country. So,
well, and I'm a huge Gary Vee fan. So I've talked about him in the past, but he talks about, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is not scared of what Pepsi's doing. They're scared of what the next up-and-coming drink is. Just like I'm sure the beer companies weren't necessarily, Miller Lite wasn't concerned with Bud Light, but they were concerned with the seltzers. They're concerned with who's repackaging water and how they're selling it. So things like that blow my mind. I don't care if you're in my market and you steal and copy exactly what I do. There's enough business out there for everyone. And so I think imitation is a great form of flattery. But even yesterday in our 20-minute prep call for this, I think Todd sent us 2 documents. Charlie sent us video scripts or dialogues, role playing. And it was like that kind of stuff is so helpful. And so I think, going that extra mile and creating those relationships with agents across the country makes a huge difference.
I would even propose for your office. And it's, we do a mastermind every week, and it's what's your biggest issue? What's your biggest challenge? And to have people that are actually in the trenches out there every day, communicating with each other about what's working for them in your local market is invaluable. And sometimes it's difficult to go into there because you didn't have a good situation. We've never had one where somebody made fun of someone when they screwed up or didn't do enough. It was always encouragement. It was always, okay, next time, or go back and try this now. You still haven't lost it. Go get it. And it's been amazing. It's been really amazing to have the experts in the field talking to each other.
Or it's a holy shit moment where it's like, I don't want that to happen to me. Now I know how to avoid it. So yeah, I think those are important. And like we said, get into the office 2 to 3 times a week, even if it's for 30 minutes. Just make those appearances, because I think it will increase your business. You'll come away with ideas or fresh perspectives that you don't have sitting, in your home office.
I can absolutely attest to that. I've seen it happen so many times. The newer agents that come in and just even kind of hang around, not to an annoying degree, but are there. There's plenty of very successful agents who don't want to show a lease property. There's plenty of agents in there who have one in a geographic area that they may not have competency in, that they're like, hey, you're here. Do you want this? I see it happen all the time.
For sure. All right. So we've got about 10 minutes till we hit about the hour mark. So I do want to kind of go rapid fire here. And Charlie, since you're on the screen, you're going first. What do you recommend to an agent that wants to close out the year strong, regardless of how their first half went?
Regardless of exactly what we've been talking about, which is get yourself some structure, decide you're going to go to work, create some vision for what you want, and then how much is that going to cost to fund whatever it is you want, get a number of transactions in mind, and then start building your skills. Do not start the day taking in negative content. Take in the goodness, use it, check your list off every day, make sure you're out, engaged. I've seen so much more now activity in charitable groups or in chambers of commerce, economic development groups, all of that. Get yourself back engaged. And like you said, a minimum of 3 days a week in the office. At least going by the office as a part of your prospecting. Make sure that's a part of your business.
All right, Todd, you're up.
All right. Thanks, Charlie. Then thanks for having me, Tyler. You guys are awesome. I network and share with these guys every week. We text 20 to 50 times a week is probably fair. So anyway, here's my advice. The old 80-20 principle. You all need to figure out where 80% of your results are coming from, and you know where they are. Identify those things, the 20% of activities that are producing all the results, and it's the same for all of us. And then absolutely create some minimum daily standards where you are pouring into those 20% of activities, and don't stop. And then when you get busy, and you will, if you don't stop, don't stop.
Yeah, amen.
That's what happens. Don't stop. You're going to get scared, flustered, desperate, and you're going to start figuring out what you need to be doing. Figure it out, create the daily minimum standards, and then don't stop. And when you get busy, don't stop, because that's when the roller coaster starts with everybody's business. So that's my advice. If you do that, you're going to have a great finish to the end of the year, and you're totally going to set yourself up to kill it in 25. That's it.
Love it.
Yep.
Nimesh, what you got?
Man, I'll tell you, I'm not as eloquent as my two predecessors right there. So I'm going to keep it simple. Agree with everything that everybody said on here. But look, you guys know me. I'm a nice guy, right? But I don't lack confidence, right? Well, as a real estate agent, you shouldn't lack any confidence. This is a self-promoting business too. You need to self-promote. So I'm going to take the angle of finish out the year by letting everybody know how great you are, letting everybody know how knowledgeable you are, how professional you are, right? And the only way to do that is via social media or emails or big, massive blasts, right? It can't just be talking to one person. Relationships are everything. 100% agree with that on Todd, saying that it has to be relationship based, right? But to start that relationship, you need to soften the field, right? Soften the field a little bit by getting as much as your content out there as possible. And your content has to be about how good you are, how professional you are, how knowledgeable you are, how successful you are. All of that needs to happen without, throwing it down somebody's throat, right? But the more you do that over the next 6 months, the better your 2025 is going to be, for sure.
Love it.
And Nimesh, tell the story about the article that you read that about after an election. Was that you?
Yeah. No, I read an article that historically, and I got to go back and find it, right? But historically, after an election, the real estate market has picked up big time, right? So that's why I'm kind of, I'm pretty much geared up for 2025. Not that I'm giving up on 24. I'm doing really well here, but definitely gearing up for 25. But, there's always going to be an excuse, right, Charlie? There's always going to be, oh, there's elections right now. Oh, there was a war. Oh, there was COVID. The thing is, there's always going to be something going on, whether it impacts us in a positive or a negative way. There's some kind of impact. Well, that's just life, guys. That's just life. You have to get on that roller coaster. And like Todd said, don't let it stop. Don't let it stop. Just keep going. The ones that stop, pause, get scared, do all that, they're the ones that are not going to continue to make it.
Well, I have to make a guilty admission because Nimesh, you gave me kudos for doing the TikTok green screen videos on Real Estate Mastermind's dumpster fire. And I got busy and I stopped. So it does happen, but you got to get back in the habit, jump back on the horse and get to work. So
but you self-assessed, right? You self-assessed and said, hey, I think Charlie or Todd said that, hey, every morning you have some, 3 things that you need to do on a daily basis or something, just get through it. Well, at least you self-assess and realize that, hey, I've been missing this one thing right here. Let me get back into it, right? That's the other problem with a lot of us, because we are running our own business as real estate agents. So we're running our own business. You have to be able to evaluate where it's going, what you've been doing, what you're missing, what you need to address, etc. And if you're not doing that on a daily basis, that's already a problem there. So good job at realizing what you're missing and get back on there, because I've been waiting to see more of those.
And what you're doing here, Tyler, is what we call public accountability. So
that's right. Hey,
now we have an expectation.
That's right. Let's
I think piggybacking on.
Let me throw one more thing in here. As far as being effective, we're all talking about different ways to win in the second half of the year. If you want to get real about all of it, to be more effective, you've got to stop doing some things you're doing. And I think everybody wants to do more. Everybody wants to go start doing video. I'm going to start having my non-negotiables every day, like I'm talking about. And I want to do these things. Everybody wants the good stuff, right? The challenge is you're using all your time every day. You're just not using it, spending it the way you probably should be. And so where the rubber meets the road is when you have to decide what you're willing to stop doing proactively. And I think that's where it breaks down for people, because they want to fit in the stuff that they want to do that's going to take them where they want to go. But the problem is you got to stop doing some shit that's not productive. And that's where you all need to and myself included, every day, there's things I'm spending time on I shouldn't. And if you can do that, you're going to create space to do the stuff that has massive results. All right, I'm off my soapbox. Tyler.
No, that was awesome, though.
Yeah, I think following up on what Nimesh said before, you definitely, in today's marketing, the whole world's marketing to your clients. So if you aren't, somebody else is. So you used to have that tight group, and these people out here, they'd all will still deal with you. Today, this group out here, they're being marketed to by a lot of agents. When you watch your cousin's house, you have a sign in the front yard that's not yours, it's because we didn't stay in touch with them well enough. So Nimesh is right. You got to get the messages out. But here's my simple thing for you for the rest of the year, and I guarantee you business off of it. Take that list, make a few phone calls every day. Doesn't have to be a ton. This doesn't have to be you got to sit down and make 100 calls every day. Although there's a guy at Tyler's office that makes, I think, 150 before he can call it a day every day. And he knows exactly how many calls he needs to make. I think, was he tell us, Tyler, 63 to get one appointment or something?
63
something
calls.
Like that. But he's got his numbers down. But here's my challenge to you. It's a very simple one. Everybody says at the end of the year, most of my business came from referral. And it's my past clients and referral. I challenge you to have 3 coffees a week. This is not hard. Go to Starbucks, go to Panera. I don't care where you go. $5 a cup at Panera. So you can get $10 marketing 3 times a week, $30, and you have 3 coffees a week. If you don't do 20 deals this year off of those 3 coffees, and I don't care who you take out for coffee, they're going to talk about real estate and they're going to refer somebody to you. Just go do it. And it's not threatening. It's actually fun. Put a logo on the back of your laptop when you go in there, and everybody else sees that you're with Remax, and somebody else comes over and says, hey, are you a realtor? I guarantee it. Simple as can be.
I want to jump on Todd too, or just on what he said. Sorry, Todd. I will never jump on you. You're way bigger than me. But if we reframe our semantics in our head around investing your time, when you invest in anything, you're going to have an expectation of a return on the other side. And when you get in that mode of investing your time, I mean, like when you're in the busy time, is that really investing your time, and is it going to get you the return that you need? So if you change the word spend, if you change the word expense to invest, then it gives you a whole different mindset on your expectation on the other side of it, which hopefully will help with the discipline to keep doing it even when you don't feel like you're able to.
I love that. That's a great mindset there, Charlie. It's just little things like that, right? Little things like that. And you start really, truly understanding what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what your results should be, right? Tyler, I know this is your show, but I'm going to say this. I love listening to all of you guys. I'll tell you, everybody out there that's listening right now, these guys are the smartest people. That's why I try to hang around with them all the time. They're so smart, but they're very straightforward and blunt about it, right? There's no sugarcoating it. There's no magic pill. There's no, hey, get up and work. And these are the simple things that can happen, but it has to be consistent, right? And that's the message that every single one of them in different ways and different aspects of your business have relayed to you guys, that it's just doing this over and over and over the right way, right? So anyway, I absolutely love everything that you guys are saying. I need this call every morning, honestly, Tyler.
Well, no, I think we are going to. I mean, this was Charlie's idea. It just happened that we had it kind of at the same time, where it was like, hey, we need to do kind of something for our agents, and then Charlie was like, I want to do this weekly. So yeah, stay tuned
for everybody.
We'll definitely do this, and it's not going to be restricted to just our agents or anything like that. So stay tuned. We'll definitely have more of these in the future, and probably way less staged than this as well. So you'll have way more of Charlie jumping on Todd and and candid laughing. So,
and
thanks for having us, Tyler. This was great.
Were you going to take questions, or did we ruin all that with all of our talk?
Yeah, we didn't. I've been posting kind of at the bottom of the screen anytime somebody made a comment. So no questions at this point.
Good.
But
good.
That means they're filled with information.
Yeah, I've been watching the comments, Charlie. It's all about Todd. Everything's about Todd's the greatest, Todd's the best, Todd's this, Todd's that.
He brought the
we already knew that, right? Todd tells us that every time we get together.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
But hey, anybody else also listening out there, what we're saying also is have fun with it, right? It's a fun industry. You get to meet a great group of people all around. You get to meet new people all the time, and have fun with it, and you'll be successful having fun. So.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, hey, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll be back in the near future.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks, Tyler. It was great.
Woo! Have a good one.
Yep. Go win.
Look at that. More Todd rocks. Are we still live?
Tyler disappeared. I guess we're going.
Our host left.
It still says live, so I don't know if he got off. I think we're still live.
Good stuff, guys.
Yeah. No, and if they're listening, they're listening. But I'll tell you, I think what I love about listening to everybody's different.
We are still live, by the way.
Yes,
you guys know.
Yeah, no, what I really love about listening to everybody is that we're in different markets, different areas, different things that are happening, whether it's seller's market, buyer's market, influx of people or whatever. It's the simple, basic stuff. And how do you continue to keep telling agents to do the simple, basic stuff over and over and over and over, right? Like sometimes I feel like I'm a broken record, or sometimes I feel like, and this is my own issue as a broker, sometimes I feel like I'm not giving them something so spectacular, and they're probably listening to me like, okay, Nimesh, enough. We've heard you say that over and over and over, but it's the truth, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Apparently, I just hit leave studio instead of in stream, so my bad.
Hey, there's Tyler.
He's back.
We're still talking, and people are still listening.
I think we're still live, aren't we, Tyler?
We are, so I'm going to go ahead and end it now.
Yeah. Okay.
That's mastery, right, Todd?